Hello, my name is Jonathan Mickles, and the purpose of this presentation is to share a presentation that my family and I we did a couple of months ago. And I felt that it was enough information, very valuable information to actually share out here with the public. And so pretty much it's called preparation. It's to help people, families to prepare for, I would guess, the second wave now by the time of this recording of the coronavirus that's in the US or anywhere for that matter. And so I have an expert and I've done some research as well. So feel free to share, like this particular video, and share it with anybody else that you think is here. So let's start with some introductions. Sir, this is...
Good evening, Good evening. I'm Elder Ford. I am grateful to have the opportunity to share with you. I am an enthusiast of preparation. I believe every person should be some portion or have some awareness of being prepared of what's going on. I have a master in theology, ordained elder, retired Marine, father, husband, and not by choice, by coincidence, I'm a prepper. So to tell you a little bit about my background or how I started, I actually was stationed on Mount Fuji in Fuji, Japan. And we had a exercise, me and 4 of my Marines, and we went out to go and prep the field for the exercise. And if you've ever been on Mount Fuji, you understand that the weather is very unpredictable. So as we was out there, within 3 minutes, the whole mountain was full of snow. To make a long story short, it took us 8 hours to go 5 miles to get back to camp. We had 2 people that had to be medevac back to the main side. And from that day forth, I became a preparer.
Wow.
Jonathan.
That's a story there, sir. Thank you very much, Elder Ford. Again, my name is Jonathan Mickles. Some of you have seen me around with the Strategic Multifamily Investing Podcast that's with Red Boot LLC, real estate, project management, all those other kinds of things. But I did also spend a semester compared to his master's in theology in seminary, and it was for an MDiv project. And so during that course of that time, there was a course on Christian counseling that I took, and there was a specific lesson in that course called Disaster Spiritual Care. Back in about 2016, 2014, I actually did a teaching with a church on that. It really struck me. At the time, I think that was around the incident that happened in Florida with the nightclub shooting at the LGBT club, the gay club. And there was a bunch of other things that were happening in the world at that time. And I talked about how do you put together disaster spiritual care plans. And so that led me also to do CERT. CERT stands for Community Emergency Response Team. And so that was a course that I took. And as a result of that, that's kind of how I got involved in this. So again, thank you again, Elder Ford, for joining us to share your experiences. So again, you guys get the benefit of a couple of different perspectives in this area. So to begin, we need to start with foundations. Before you build anything that's a good house or a good structure, we need a foundation. So there are 3 core areas, and Elder Ford is going to talk about these. Number 1 is faith. Number 2 is family. And then the third is finances. So with that, Elder Ford, you want to talk to us about faith?
We want to talk about faith. And just remember, the goal of a disaster preparedness is to lessen the impact of any disaster. And so if you're not prepared, the first thing that you do is panic. Prepared people do not panic as much as folks who are not prepared. And folks who have little faith or hope panic more than those who do have faith or hope. So if whatever you're believing, whatever you believe in, whatever you hold on to, just remember, that is your focus. Give you an example. And when we finished and we got out and we was in the hospital, Three of the guys came over to me as they said that I motivated them to make it through our incident. I told them it wasn't me, it was my faith that made me go through what we went through. And they said, well, we got to get some next.
And so if you, again, whatever your spiritual tradition is, we think it's really, really important, both of us, that reconnect if you're not connected, or, strengthen that within your communities of faith. If you need some help and assistance, we'll make sure that we make our contact information available, and maybe we can put you in contact with some communities of faith that, if you don't have one, that you can connect with, that we think are great. Family. Elder, what did you have to say about family?
Family is one of those things, like, you have to say to yourself, when disasters happen, who's looking out for you and who you are looking out for? Everybody in the family should be able to contact with somebody. And you've seen on the news a lot of times, somebody will be missing for 2 to 3 days, and nobody contacted anybody. So we want to make sure that we contact somebody. We're looking out for them, and they are looking out for us. And if you do not have that in your family, this is a great time to reach out and just say, hey, I just want to let you know, if you need me, I am here.
Yeah. So if there are oftentimes those weak links. Some people may call them the black sheeps of the family. We really don't believe in that. What we want to say is, if you have lost contact, whoever is closest to that family member, reach out to them. Make sure that there is some sort of connection at some point in time, because it's important during these times to have this next keyword, which is unity. Elder, you want to talk about that?
Yes, and in each family, you have folks who have strengths in certain things. You have folks who have weaknesses. But when you put them all together, it's more powerful with unity. Don't focus on what you don't have. Mm-hmm. Focus on what you have as a family. When your family ties together, it's hard for you to break them apart when you come together as a family. I use an analogy. Families are like branches on trees. We all grow in different directions, but we all come from the same root.
Right.
So if you keep that root tight, your family will stay tight in a disaster.
And then also, I'd like to add, some people may not have a lot of family where they are. You can also look at this as family of choice. So those that you are close to, specifically geographic location, or even, over the waves right now, we're a lot more connected, if you will, virtually than we have been in the past. Make sure that you reach out to those other family members as well, and consider that your family as well.
Yes.
So this third item for foundation is finances. You want to talk to us a little bit about this, Elder?
Yes, and if you didn't notice during this pandemic or any type of disaster, you go to the grocery store and you look at your grocery bill and you're like, wow, I never paid this much for groceries. I never paid this much for cleaning material. And if you was one of those people in line trying to get Lysol or any other kind of disinfectant, you found out once you got there, that used to be $1.25 Lysol was now $5.
Right.
Wherever you went at. And then you find yourself saying, do I have enough money to survive until I receive assistance during this pandemic? FEMA does a great job, but FEMA is not there that night. It may take some people a week. So you should have something in the bank or around where you can use and say, okay, I'm good for a week or 2 or 3 days until assistance can get there. Jonathan.
Yeah. So in addition to that, there is you know, what some people have done is they take out maybe say $1,000, you know, as an emergency fund that Dave Ramsey may say have, and they'll put that in cash, and then they'll put that maybe say in a safe or something, you know, a physical safe. If you're going to be using a safe, I say it should be fireproof and waterproof. You know, with the second wave of the pandemic coming, you know, you may not have issues with fire or water, but at this present time, we have unprecedented fires out in the West Coast. So those families, you know, a lot of times are returning back to their homes, and their homes are completely gone. So getting a safe that's fireproof, you know, and putting the key documents that are there has a likelihood of being able to survive a fire. And now you have those critical things that you actually can deal with. And did you have a story about the free lunch that you want to share?
Yes. When the pandemic was in its third week, they started to give out free and reduced lunches, but you had to go to the location
Hmm.
in order to receive it and get in the long line. But what they realized was everyone do not have the means to make it to the location. So they found out that it was a group of people who never received anything, not because they didn't need it, it's because of the fact they could not make it to the location that they had established. So we must look out for those folks. And the one thing about being prepared, when you're prepared, not only can you can take care of your family, you also can minister to others. And so you become that ministry for those folks until they can get help from somewhere else.
That's good. So, and again, please look at this and listen to this, you know, watch this video, not just from the standpoint of COVID-19, you know, 2020, we're at the fourth quarter 2020 when this is being recorded. But again, I mentioned before that there were fires out on the West Coast, and then there are increased numbers of hurricanes as well. As a matter of fact, I think we're up to the Greek letter alphabet here in 2020, and we're on Delta. So that's, I think, the third or fourth storm beyond, you know, all of the alphabet that
Yes.
we've used. So those that are in floodplains, that are in the Gulf Coast, again, a fire waterproof safe with the valuables in there are good. I also recommend using, you know, the cloud. I've scanned a lot of, you know, you scan a lot of key documents that you have into the cloud, such that if you have to travel, or if the fire, you know, and waterproof safe don't, you know, survive, you at least have a backup somewhere else that you can gain access to. And a lot of times you'll need these things, if you will, to
Yes.
reestablish things. So here are some of the things that I say that you should have a copy of in a safe. You know, your photo IDs, your birth certificate, your social security cards, military service, anything for pets, all of your financial institutions, you should at least have at least one bill from all of your financial institutions that you do work with, whether that's a credit card or checking account, savings accounts, IRAs, 401ks, as well as your mortgages, your cars, et cetera, as well as information about medical stuff. So whether that's your prescriptions, doctor bills, things of that sort, so that you can make sure that you prove that, yes, Dr. X is my physician, such that if you may have to have prescriptions refilled, you can get all that stuff. If you have all of that in a safe, and it's physical, and then also make copies of that and put that on the cloud, I think that you have like a double layer of protection for you. So again, this is going to be very, very important for you. And again, I know a lot of people who are in those, you know, in those places where water has intruded and wiped out the home, or fire has, you know, wiped out the entire house. You know, had they done this before, I think that they may be a little bit, you know, in a little bit better position. And so, again, it may not have hit your house yet. You may be on the East Coast and everything is okay, but hey, we had an earthquake on the East Coast here in 2020. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that stuff can happen. So the next stuff is the next level is kind of physical. Once we've got the foundation, there's a couple things that we need to add on, if you will, to the house as we start building. Number one, we want to talk a little bit more about things that you can do for your country. I want to talk about making a plan, right? How do you make a plan? What should families do? I want to talk about seniors, some things that senior citizens should take on. And I want to talk about technology. And I know sometimes seniors and technology don't kind of go hand in hand. We have it.
Yes.
But we want to make sure that you are using technology, because that's oftentimes, if you don't have access to the physical documentation, you're going to need that, if you will, to help you out. And then a couple other things that we'll cover. So the first thing is the census. At the present time, I think we've have another month or so left to take the census. This is in October when we're recording this. So if you haven't already done so, we provided the link here for you. Please go and take that census. That's going to be important to make sure that we have proper representation of what our country really looks like. And that's also used to make sure that monies are divided up, into the communities for use. Next is consider voting by mail. Right now, voting has started in a lot of different places. And if you have that opportunity still, you may want to consider that again due to COVID-19. Next is to make a plan. So there's like 5 different steps, 6 questions. I've actually reduced it down to 5 questions. But 1, we want to put together the plan. Number 2, we want to assess our needs. Every family is different, right? There's some families that have individuals with disabilities, whether that's hearing or physical. There are situations where people have medical needs, some that have children, and different ages of children may have different needs. Then we want to make sure that you, after you've assessed your needs, to create an emergency plan, right? Exactly what's here. And so we actually have a website. Literally, if you click this link, we'll make sure that this presentation is in a PDF form, and we'll make it available to you in the description of this video on YouTube. And if it's posted anywhere else, you'll have a link to this entire presentation with the links so that you can click and go directly to those resources. Also, at the end of this presentation are 2 slides with nothing but links and resources for a lot of the things that we talk about here today. So again, that's all yours. It's all free. You don't have to do anything. Just go and yeah.
Also, wanted to, without a plan, you invite problems in an emergency.
Exactly. Because you don't know. I mean, if, for example, in our family, we have, some, one family that has children that are baby, infant, all the way to, 2nd grade in school. So there has to be a plan that takes into account, well, if something were to happen, who's going to be able to get the kids from daycare? Not just, mom and dad, but maybe are there other friends or other family members who can make sure that they pick up the kids, and then make sure that they get them to wherever the safe place is, designating what the safe place is, so that everybody can meet there and be reunited to be able to move forward. So those are the kinds of things we talk about when we talk about developing a plan. And then you should practice your plan. We're not trying to scare anybody, but what we want you to do is to be able to practice it enough times such that everybody feels comfortable, everybody knows, and it just is one of those things. And if should something happen, everybody knows, okay, this is what we do. Everybody, has all the information, so not an issue. So I talked about making a plan, and there were 5 questions. So I want to talk a little bit more about what those questions are. And again, there are more links here. Again, you will have access to this presentation. You can click the link and open these up. How will I receive alerts and warnings? Well, we'll talk a little bit more in technology about some apps that I think you should put on your phone, right? One of them is to FEMA, and you are allowed to do, I think FEMA also has a text app, ability to be able to text back and forth, but you also want to text your entire family. How about making sure that everybody in your entire family is in your contact book, right? For some people who have Androids, I'm an Android guy, you can go and put it on Android, and then Android will then sync with your phone. So add everybody in there and make sure it's there. So even if you lose your phone, you at least have all the contacts in your Google environment, right? Social media, email. Next, what is my shelter plan? So how do we shelter in place? Again, I mentioned, if you have little kids, where are we going? We're not talking about your shelter where you are. We're talking about shelter if you have to leave where you are. For example, if you want to talk about that, Elder, I'll pause because I think you have an example about that.
If, for example, at one time I lived in Jacksonville, North Carolina, and we had no choice but to evacuate. And my problem at the time was I did not listen to the radio or when they told me where to go. So we are driving without knowing where we're going, trying to find a shelter. So we went into about 5 schools before we got to the right school. And everybody asked me the same question when I got into the shelter. How did you not know where the shelter was when they told you 5 days ago? So that's one of the examples that I have.
There you go. So you should know where to go, if you will, for local sheltering, and for some people, say maybe that are in a fire or that are in, say, Louisiana, or New Orleans, that may have gotten flooded through the hurricane. Making those contacts with family members, again, of choice or of blood, that are outside of your area, states away, where you can then go there and shelter is also important. So we talk about having a safe place, again, something out of town, and there's an actual plan. You can click there, it pops up, you can fill it in, make sure you make copies, make sure you give it to everybody that's involved in the plan. What is my household communication plan? So should something happen, who's going to communicate with who, when, how do we communicate with the kids? Again, if we having somebody to pick them up, if we have, grandmom or mom, is she able to use the phone? Can she text? Those kinds of things are important. Do I need to update my emergency preparedness kit? That's on the next slide. We'll talk a little bit more in depth about that. Elder has some really good stuff. And then the CDC emergency plan. So, CDC says, we need to have some stuff in our emergency kits, and we'll talk about that. So make sure you get a cloth or face covering for everyone over 2 years of age. That's what the CDC says. So yes, if they're 2 years old or older, please have that. Disinfectants, da-da-da-da. I actually have a little box. I went to Walmart and bought one of those 12 by 12 black cubes, and I put everything in there. So I've got my PPE, I've got sanitizer, I have hand sanitizer, I have spray, I have everything that's in there. So it's not just for me, but also for those that happen to enter my car, so that we can make sure that we're doing some things. You should also probably have something in the back of your car no matter what. And we'll talk about that now. So with that, Elder, you want to explain this right here?
So this is just a few of my my preparedness kit. Now, the one thing I want to tell you about a preparedness disaster kit is not about how many supplies you have, but if you have the right supplies.
Right.
And I would ask you this question. You ask yourself this question, and you think about it. What do you do when the power goes out? What is your first, second, and third reaction? Do you go to the drawer or the closet and get that bag of batteries and try to find a flashlight? So this is my play kit. This is always around for anybody in my family to go to. It's in one location, one place, and everybody can get to it. And when you put together a kit, every kit is different to every person, depends on what your situation is. But there's 8 basic necessities that you have to worry about during a disaster. 1 is food. 2, water, shelter, light, heat and cooling, air, sleep, hydration, and sanitation. So everything that you heard about during this pandemic or any disaster, these things are covered. But I also want to give you one of my little tips for those of you with kids. I always get what I call a calmer. The first thing you really want to do is you want to get the kids in a place where they're calm. Because I played the video, I got them their own flashlight, they got their own little tent, They get in, they get in, and they think it's a sleepover.
Mm-hmm.
While we're waiting to find out why the lights went out, why the storm is getting bad, they are calm, and I don't have to worry about them being scared of what's going on because you are prepared. If you have someone who's elderly, someone who's sick, the medication, if you have all these things in your kit, then that won't be what I call an emergency on an emergency.
Mm-hmm.
And you definitely don't want that.
Right. You,
Right,
that's a good idea in terms of the calmer, for the kids, because, it can be kind of scary and spooky. The lights went out,
Mm-hmm.
this doesn't have to be, catastrophic things. This could be just, if you happen to be in an area where it's, the lights are prone to go out,
Yes.
you can have these kinds of things already ready, charged up. The kids, again, practice all the time, so they know exactly what happened, and know exactly what they should do. What we've done, Elder obviously has, he's been doing this for years, so there's a bunch of things that he wants, and he's specifically chosen what's there on the floor. Some of us aren't as astute as he, and kind of just want to buy something. So what we have are links to Amazon. There's a survival pack on Amazon that you can buy, one that we looked at and thought that it would be good for you. The other side is there's a survival bucket. It's a 5-gallon bucket filled up with a lot of the things that you see here on the floor in this picture. So you can either have it a backpack size or in a bucket size. And then, like he said, put it in some place. If you want to go and choose and pick and whatever, but you kind of need a list or a check off to be able to do that. There's even another link down here. It says emergency kit items. So you can go and do your own curating. That's the word I want to use. Curating of your own kit. Okay. Anything else that I'm missing here?
You're good.
Good. So we're going to talk a little bit about seniors and what we can do for seniors. So number one, for those seniors that are out there, and we have a lot of seniors in my family, so this one is really, really important to me. So I may take a little bit longer, but I'll try to walk through this. Number one, create a support network. Oftentimes as we get older, we may not necessarily be near the kids or the grandkids. And so it's important for us to be able to not be a hermit, but to be able to reach out to neighbors and establish relationships enough that you can share with them your plan, right? Meaning practice with them your plan, give them an extra key to the home, let them know where the emergency supplies are, and how to use life-saving equipment. So say, for instance, you have a cardiac issue or you need CPR, you want to make sure that people know how to use those things. Or if you're diabetic and need to use insulin, how does, make sure that those people who are around you are going to be a part of your team, part of your family, know how to use and administer those things. Other thing is routine treatments. There's sometimes people that are on dialysis or whatever routine treatment. You want to know your hospital emergency plans. So if you're, whatever hospital you normally go to, you want to figure out, hey, in case of emergency, what should I do? Is there even a backup hospital, right? May not be your personal hospital that you like to go to, but something else. And then make sure that you have a list of all of your not just your medications, right? Making copies of them, putting them into your safe, or making copies of them and putting them virtually in the cloud. But then also making sure that all of your physicians, who they are, which ones should be contacted, that's somewhere in a safe place as well, and also given to your family. If you have a communication-related disability, you need to be able to communicate that. We have friends of the family that are blind, right? And then I think that there's another member of our extended family that's deaf. So how are they going to communicate to make sure that we are receiving notifications if something should happen? And again, this is probably for anything, not just for, say pandemic or some other emergencies. As seniors, these things you should have. Pets. If you need to go and shelter your pet, who is able to take care of the pet if something should happen to you, or if something, where can you take the pet if you're going to need to evacuate? Where do you go in order for those things to happen? And then a lot of times you may be getting Medicare, Medicaid, what other pensions, things of that sort. If you haven't already done so and you're still receiving a check, my recommendation and the recommendation of the CDC and FEMA is to get that stuff electronically. Why? In the case, you got a question? Okay.
No, I was just saying, I was just agreeing.
Yeah. So in the case of an emergency, you may not have access to your home, right? And or mail service may be delayed. However, if you're getting it direct deposited to your account, you now have access to those funds and be able to use those funds if necessary. And again, making sure that you have copies of your bank statements and all those other things scanned, put in the cloud, scanned, put into, or make copies and put inside your safe are also useful, making sure that, again, your friends know where that stuff is should something happen. Also, your wills, your trust, if you don't already have one, please go set one up. We are not attorneys or accountants or anything like that, but if you set one up, if you don't have one, that's also something that you could put into your safe, scan, put into the cloud. So just some other things that you should do and be thinking about if you are a senior. Anything else here, Elder, that you wanted to maybe chime in on?
I'm good.
Okay.
No, we're good.
Got it. The last thing is technology, right? Cell phone. Again, as I said, I'm an Android guy. I got my cell phone. But you want to make sure that you get a couple of products as it relates to this, because sadly, if someone were to be able to contract COVID, what we're seeing is that no one else can really go with you, right? To the hospital. You're kind of going to be by yourself. You're going to be isolated. That's already a trauma in and of itself, and unable to communicate with the world. However, if you had technology and you had this as a part of one of your emergency kits, you could communicate. So what's that? A long charging cord. They have them now 10, 15 feet long. Buy a couple. Put one in your car. Keep one in the house in your emergency bag. Buy some earbuds or some headphones, whatever it is that you can stick into your ears and connect to your phone. I would prefer not just the wireless ones, but I would say get the corded ones, right? That way, if something happens to the wireless ones, you can't get them charged up. You can plug them into your headphones, listen to the family, say if you're having a phone conversation with them. The next is a power bank. This is like an external battery charger for your phone. And you can go find these. I've got links here to Five and Below. I think that that's a good place to go and get some of these. They're meaning that pretty much everything in there is about $5, maybe $10. And you can buy those things and have a couple of them. Again, charge banks, put that in your car, put it in your house, and maybe some external hard drives. So as I mentioned before, I have things that are in a physical safe, right? I also have them in a cloud, but I also have them backed up on an external hard drive. Our external hard drive is not in your computer, but it can be attached to your computer. So that's like triple layer protection for me for should something happen. Everything is there, all of my, documents and whatever. And should something happen, someone or myself have access to those. Again, you can't find anything less than $5, but go ahead and get one. Also, learn how to do some of these tasks. Learn how to use Zoom. We're using Zoom right now, right? Learn how to take a selfie, because if you're in a hospital or if you're in a tragic situation, sometimes people need to lay eyes on you, right?
Yes.
Take a picture. You put that on the social media if that's your thing, or you send it to your family or whatever so they can see. GPS to somebody's house. Use your phone, turn on your whatever, and then GPS and learn how to drive with the GPS. You can either use Google Maps or you can use Waze. A lot of people use that. Learn how to read and send a text, check your voicemail, send email. For some people, this is very simple, but I'm actually talking to the seniors. Please make sure that you do these. Because again, if something happens, you should be able to try to figure out how to connect with someone. Yeah, go ahead.
If you don't mind, Jonathan, one of the things that I did, and I'm not a technology person, I'm learning. One of the things that I did is all my family and friends, I asked them to send me a picture of them, and I put them in a folder on my phone and my computer. So if anything ever happens or anything ever happens to them, I can say, this is, you've seen this person, this is my uncle, and it's been working well.
Thank you. I need to do that myself. That's something else that I've just learned here, and it makes a lot of sense. No, because should something happen, tragic, and you get discombobulated, and it's like, uh, if you have that in that folder in your critical folder, I have a critical folder, right? And you say, here are all my family members. So if somebody shows up that looks like such and such, you have a name. You can open that folder and say and
Yes,
compare photos. Yes, that's so and so.
yes,
You know. So that makes sense. But they're bookmarks that you should have. These bookmarks are web pages that you should have links to that are in your computer. You should also have them in your phone and other places. If you don't know how to do that, you need to call some of the young kids in your family and do that. So stuff to your car insurance, your mortgage insurance, all your bank account links, links to your doctor's offices. These are web pages. So you click it and you're like, okay, here's a doctor's office, right? And then again, I mentioned scan everything to the trial. To the cloud, your wills, your trust, your medical information, all your debts, your mortgages, your car insurance, et cetera. Because again, if everything were to be wiped away, you're going to need this information in order to verify, number one, who you are, and number two, to verify that you did own these things or for insurance purposes, if nothing else. So again, seriously consider buying multiple and putting them in your office, your home, your car. Add all of your family members to your contact book. So as you get them, your family members, you add them to the contact book. You do as Elder said, get a picture, add them to the contact so that people know who it is that, and you know who it is. Should something happen where you're unable to really identify people, they can see. And again, consider using direct deposit. There's a bunch of apps that are out there. The FEMA app is here. That's in the bottom left. You can have a picture of the cloud, put that on your phone as well, so that then you have access in your phone. So even if your phone dies, you have the external charger, you could charge it back up and then go anywhere and everywhere that you want to go. So there's one, I think specifically one that I want to talk about in terms of bookmarks is the Red Cross Safe and I don't know, I think it's Safe and Well link.
yes.
So essentially, if something happens to you and your family and you're displaced and you don't have access to social media and all those kinds of things, you can go and register with the Red Cross, your family, etc., and then you train the rest of your family. This is a part of your plan. Go to the Red Cross website so your entire family knows, if nothing else, let me go to the Red Cross website and look for your name and your information there, and they'll be able to identify where you are and whether or not you're okay or not. Real key bookmark. All right. Some other things here. I want to talk about physiology. So there's a lot. If you're on Facebook, I would say go and search for Dr. Jill. Dr. Jill. I'm African-American, Elder's African-American, she's an African-American doctor. And for a lot of what's happening with COVID, we want to make sure that we're taking care of our immune system should we contract, right? So that we have a good chance of being able to fight that off. So there is a protocol or several protocols, and I've just taken one protocol and put it here that's kind of representative of them. Number one, make sure you go to your doctor and get everything checked, right? Because what we're finding is that a lot of people especially of the African-American persuasion, are very low in vitamin D. If I'm not mistaken, the scale goes from 1 to 100. I understand that good is about 50. Optimal is like 80 to 100 in terms of what the number should be. We're finding as people are going to go get tested, African Americans, their numbers are 6, 10. Again, 50 is good. 80 to 100 is optimal. And if you're at a 6 or 10, we're finding with the COVID, with coronavirus, that's causing people to have a lot of challenges. So they recommend 10,000 IU of vitamin D. Again, I'm not a doctor. Go take a look. Go to Facebook, look up Dr. Jill. She has a couple of videos where she explains viruses and explains protocols that you may want to be able to take. But these are just some other things you can do. Walk, reduce, if not eliminate red meat and pork. Lay on your stomach. It's called proning. There's a link here to that. That's where that underline is there. Because in severe cases of COVID, what they're finding is they turn people from their back to their stomach in order to be able to breathe. And it's called proning. And so if you do those exercises now, you'll be prepared, to be able to get your breath. Green tea, a bunch of other things. Another thing is psychology. A couple of months ago, Michelle Obama, a former first lady, had mentioned how she has been exhausted from all of the things that have been going on, not just with coronavirus, but also with the racial tensions that have been happening. Again, the recording time of this is 2020. And so she was thinking, I'm just tired, And so in that case, I think it's okay for anyone to be tired. The case is to go and ask for help when you need help. And as African Americans, it's very challenging to do that. We don't do that. From time to time, I will reach out to a professional and just walk through some things, make sure that we're okay, everything is okay. If there's some other things that we need to work on. Thank God everything is okay, but it's okay to go and seek some psychological help if you need that, right? A coach or somebody that's out there that can help you through some of these challenging things. I was talking on a podcast with someone and they said, attitude and action are the two things that you can control. So if you're having challenges with that, again, reach out, because a lot of times in these situations with COVID, people are getting tired of being inside and we want to go and do our own thing. The virus is still here and will be here probably for at least the next year or so, according to the medical professionals. So we need to be able to make sure that we're managing our mental health. And this is something that we need to talk about in our families. And the last thing is fun, right? How do we do that? Daily, weekly, monthly, how are we planning that? I know some families get together and do virtual trivia nights. Somebody comes up with something and everybody else has to try and answer it. And they're in teams, and the team that comes up with something, whatever it is, figure out what that is for you and your family. Taking long walks is something that I do now. Wasn't really my thing. Taking long drives, it really was not my thing at all. But that's a way of being able to get out of the house, right, and be socially distanced and be able to do that. Game, movie nights, whatever those things are. So with that, Elder, did you have something else that you want to add? Because we're pretty much at the end of our presentation here.
Yes, on the psychology, the most important thing that was ever said to me during disasters and tough times is that, you know what? It's okay to feel. It's human. You can feel. And, just because we are confined sometimes because of COVID doesn't mean we in prison.
Right.
There's a lot of things that you can do with your family to make the best of your situation. And those things that Jonathan has down at the walks, we have game night once a week that you put down all electronics, everything, and we have game night, we have movie night. We also walk a path as a family once a week. Yeah. And we have a 3-year-old, and every day she's saying, "Are we going walking?" And so we instill that in her, and she get outside and just have a good time.
Yep.
So don't be confined because of COVID, because outdoors and other things that you can do.
Yep. Absolutely. I totally wholeheartedly agree. And if you don't know, again, you're on Facebook, ask other families what they're doing. One of the things that we've done in order to keep in contact and kind of have fun with our family, and this is where we did this presentation, is we get together once a month now. It was twice a month. It was a couple of times we did once a week, but now we do once a month. To make sure that everybody is okay. And just to check in, and we have those touch points because we may not be able to visit each other, given a lot of times the restrictions that we're seeing, if you will, and the prohibitions for actual travel. So with that being the case, I want to thank everybody for sticking around and listening to Elder and us. I think we've spent about 30-45 minutes kind of walking through this presentation, and we think there's a lot of information here, and we are both available Elder, how do they get in contact with you if they want to reach out to you somehow?
I will send you my email information.
Got it. So check the description of this box of this video, and you'll have his email. And I'll make sure that I put my email out there as well, in a way for you to contact us. As I mentioned before, we have 2 full pages of resources here for you to take a look at and be able to click on, as well as the links that are actually in the actual presentation. So I want to say thank you again. Please feel free to share, like, send it to your family, send it to your friends as a way of being able to prepare for any potential disasters that may come up. Again, it may not necessarily be the coronavirus, COVID-19. It could be fires. It could be water. It could be earthquakes, whatever. Every family, we believe, needs to be in a situation where they can prep. So listen, thank you so much, and God bless you.